All right, recording started. Welcome everybody to this week's security office hours. I am going to go over some of the changes that are coming down from within the UI because we're starting to make our convergence. One of the things that we promised when you started looking at Microsoft Defender is that we're going to have a single UI when it comes to that. There is one thing I do want to bring up, and I posted it inside the team. I just want to make sure everybody's aware of it. We put some Exchange out-of-band updates last night or yesterday. So if you haven't seen those, it is Exchange on-prem. This is Exchange on-prem. There was a nation actor that was starting to use some vulnerabilities they found within some of the Exchange on-prem stuff. We've since then created patches for those. So there's some out-of-band patches that are available. If you're still one of the customers that is using Exchange on-prem, even if you're just in a hybrid, or if you've got something there for creating mailboxes and then migrating those out to Exchange Online, please make sure that you patch those machines because just about every thing is vulnerable. As you can see there, it's 2010, 2013, 2016, 2019. Exchange Online has already been patched, so you're covered there. So if you are using Exchange on-prem, it's also a good time to take a look at migrating to Exchange Online. It's inherently more secure. We can patch on the fly, so we can take care of those types of things as well. And of course, the other thing when you look at it too, select server to Exchange 2019, we basically develop for the cloud. At some point in time, we say, okay, this is a really stable, really good build of what we're doing in the cloud, and we package that up, and bam, that's Exchange 2019. And then, of course, we continue to put feature updates and other stuff out there as well. But definitely take a look at that. So, as I'd mentioned, today we're going to talk about Microsoft 365 Defender. If you have preview turned on, you might have seen a little bit of the converged UI. It's in preview right now. It's going to hit GA as of April 1st. And as a matter of fact, there's a setting inside the Security Center that you can force people or redirect them. So like if they were to go to protection.office.com, it would redirect them to Microsoft 365 Defender to the security portal. As of April 1st, all tenants will actually put that into effect automatically. So if you were to go to something like protection.office.com, it's going to redirect you to security.microsoft.com. So just a couple things here. Let me just go back to here. So just some really high-level stuff on Microsoft 365 Defender, cross-domain security, identities, endpoints, cloud apps, emails. Want to shift from a siloed to an individual pieces to basically a cross-domain security perspective. When you start to look at, what can Microsoft 365 Defender do, it's identities, endpoints, cloud apps, emails, and docs, and it's a protect, investigate, hunt, and respond. So from the portal convergence, the Microsoft 365 Defender dashboard, it's going to present the unified state of security, as it says. So give you everything at your fingertips, all the key pieces that you need. You can see things like active incidents, what devices, what mailboxes, what your secure score is, any pending actions you need, any active threats in your organization based on our threat analytics, and of course, just some security blogs and news that's going on as well. What's new, highlighted text pending setup operation. There's also a what's new area promoting new capabilities across the entire security stack. So as we start to add new features or bring more things into the portal, you'll actually see that within the security blogs in the what's new area there. When you look at the incidents there, you'll actually see a couple things that are a little different. So if you're familiar with Microsoft Defender for Endpoint, it has incidents in there. We now, of course, have incidents inside of the security.microsoft.com, but it's across your entire domain. We actually put things in there, so a quick view of the attack based on the MITRE ATT&CK framework, the timeline of what's going on, so you can watch how the attack unfolded step by step. What the scope of the incident is. So again, it's not just you going to a single point solution or just a Microsoft Defender for Endpoint and saying, hey, what's going on within my somebody's either talking or clapping on your keyboard. If you can go on mute unless you have a question. The other thing is I'm not looking at the chat. So if there's any questions, please come off mute, ask them, or wait until I can, once I'm done presenting. Look at the scope of the incident. So again, it's not just from the endpoint side of the house. It's not just in the mailbox. We want your security analyst to say, hey, this is what's going on based on the incident, based on the attack across my data, devices, identities, and endpoints. So more unified experiences. And some of this stuff, by the way, that I'm showing you has not quite made it there yet. So you're going to look at some of this stuff going, hey, I don't remember seeing this inside my UI. It's because it's coming very soon. So you're actually going to see things like this is the new portal view of Microsoft Defender for Identity Alert. So this will come in there right now. You would actually see this alert as part of Office Cloud App Security. One of the things that you'll notice that Microsoft Defender for Identity, if you go there, if you look at something, it's going to say, hey, try the new investigation experience. You click on that, it brings you over to Microsoft Cloud App Security. The next piece to that is actually folding it into Microsoft 365 Defender or the security center. So again, it's part of the piece to move everything into a single unified UI. So you have just one place to go to take care of all your security needs from an M365 perspective. From here, you'll see different correlated alerts that's going on. So it's going to show you where the source was. Just let me open this up so you can see it a little bit better. You can see, hey, and we're still using the old names here, but you'll actually see that, hey, where this is coming from. It's coming from Defender for Identity, which was formerly known as Azure Advanced Threat Protection. And being at Microsoft for 15 years, we constantly rename stuff, confuse our customers, or I mean, make it simpler and easier for our customers. My inner voice coming out. This is actually one of the best renaming that I've ever seen in my tenure here at Microsoft, because Azure Advanced Threat Protection, other than the fact that Microsoft's cloud is Azure, and of course the service was running inside of Azure, it had nothing to do with Azure. So it's just typical Microsoft. We get the name Azure, and everybody had to be named Azure whatever for the longest time. So I think this is one of the best renamings. But you'll see that it's showing you the detection source. So how we're correlating this, how we're saying, hey, somebody clicked on an email, somebody got phished, somebody gave up their credentials, there was lateral movement to other devices. So, Polly clicked on a link, Adrian, who's the help desk administrator, they used a pass to hash or an overpass to hash to get credentials. They moved from Molly's machine to Mike's machine. They stole credentials out of Mike's browser, and just to how the lateral movement went inside your organization. We can show that to you from a storyboard type perspective, and we can show you that across your entire domain. So a single user experience, so you don't have to pivot between different portals, you don't have to go between different products. We're going to put everything together in one location. The other thing that we're doing too is we're making it so that, let's say there's RBAC, that they can only see the certain group of users or certain devices or just email. When they go to the portal, we're going to adhere to your RBAC controls, but we're going to limit what the person can see or give you the ability to flip a switch that limits that as well. We're going to show you also managed and unmanaged devices. And again, this is new. This is something that's not in there right now. So we're going to show you so that, hey, we have the ability to look on your network now so you can see the devices that are potentially rogue machines, personal devices brought into your workspace, that type of stuff, because we actually have a network scanner going on as well. So we're going to be able to do that from within here. It's going to give you the ability to figure out, hey, what devices I need to bring into my fold that are not there, kind of the way SCCM does it today. So when you have SCCM stood up, and SCCM can look out there and say, hey, there's 13 devices that are not being managed by SCCM, and then you can deploy to it and do the same thing, but more from a security perspective, not just from a device management perspective. We're also going to give you much more details when it came to the automated healing. What did we actually do? Instead of just saying remediated, we're going to let you know, hey, we stopped the process, we removed the files, or we reverted the files back because they were a device driver, so we needed to revert those back. So we're going to give you much more information on what we're doing from the remediation. Is there a question? It sounds like somebody just came off mute. Again, if you're want to ask a question, hey, great. But if not, please mute. Thank you. Next, we're actually going to do a lot more when it comes to the cross-domain hunting. So today we have Custo query language. We have normalized schema in there. So this is already built into the advanced hunting piece. But one of the things that we're going to do is we're going to add even more to the ability where the Go Hunt button is. We're going to add more context to that, give you more ability to customize that from a UI perspective so that you don't have to have a deep knowledge of Custo query language. Obviously, if you're using the Microsoft security products, it's something you probably want to learn just because it's going to be used in all of our, whether it's Azure Sentinel, whether it's Azure Defender, Microsoft 365 Defender, it uses, all of the products use the same query language. This is something that's already folded into the product as well. So again, we've converged both Microsoft Defender for identities and Microsoft Cloud App Security together. And we actually put this into the Microsoft Security Center as well. So a unified page for identities. Let me just move back over here, make it a little bigger so you can take a look at it. We're going to take things that are happening in both on-prem and Azure Active Directory, create an investigation priority score so that you as the SOC analyst has the ability to go in and say, hey, I'm going to, I have my investigation priority, so it will put them in order. So you see somebody who's got 1,000, you're like, wow, okay, I really need to investigate this person first based on things here. So you can see like in here, it says, I can't even read that myself. So, you know, they logged in, that was 8 points. There was an impossible travel scenario or risky sign in, that was plus 15 points. If there was a pass the hash, that would probably be a plus 40 points, those types of things. So you can see how we add to that. We're also adding, so we have the ability, RBAC is in there now. So if you actually go into roles and permissions, you can actually add that. We're actually coming out with a customized, so you can actually create your own roles. But one of the things, one of the biggest slowdown, if you will, or developing something that needed developing was maintaining what RBAC controls people might have put in place already. We didn't want to say, hey, we're going to fold this into the security center and all those policies and rules that you put in place for RBAC went away and you have to redo them again. We brought them along. So if you have device groups and people are read-only in that device group, when they come to the security center, it's exactly the same, but you have the ability. So from a single location, let me just go ahead and make this a little bigger. From a single location, you can actually click through and create the different roles for things like Microsoft Threat Protection, endpoints, email, identity. Some of them still will show you what the roles are. You won't be able to actually manage those. It'll actually tell you go to like the Office 365 Admin Center to do it. And that's just part of the process of us actually rolling everything into here. We're showing you what they are, giving you where you can go to actually change those roles. But as we finish our convergence to the portal, all that stuff will roll into here as well. This is the screen that I was talking about where you're actually, so this screen's not there. This is kind of a preview of what to come. So manage all your permissions and roles in one place. You're actually going to be able to build a customized role. So you'll have the ability to have much more granular control over your RBAC as well. Just so you can see, this can have a UI driven as far as when it comes to creating customized role. Again, this is kind of sneak peek, but stuff that's coming in the very near future. Again, some of the stuff is redacted, so you can't see it because we just haven't really finished developing yet. But you can see here, assign permissions, assign users and groups, review it, and then go ahead and deploy that rollout to a person. Microsoft 365 Defender ecosystem. So again, when you actually go into, I'm sorry, somebody just started typing. You can put yourself on mute. That's awesome. When you look at our ecosystem, we're actually also integrating with other third-party solutions. And I'll actually show you the API or the partner and ATI portal in a few minutes when I bring up my demo, just to show you some stuff. MSSP enablement, that's already there. Microsoft 365, ISG alert providers, all this stuff is actually brought into the product already. Sentinel integration, we kind of talked about this last week, but you're actually going to have the ability to do this in 2 places. So you'll actually, this should look kind of familiar from what Manuel talked about last week, connecting in there. All this stuff is in there from a single location. You can actually see configuration events, Azure Advanced Threat Protection. Again, just still using some of the old names in here, but you can see it's very easy to connect and click through there. All the relevant information. So we're bringing all the alerts over, all the incidents over, so that if you're using Azure Sentinel as a SIEM, all those incidents, all those alerts are being brought over there, so you can utilize that. All the run books are going to be there, plus the ability for you to customize and create your own run books outside of Azure Sentinel as well. Again, enrich Microsoft 365 Defender data with third-party signals. Use raw connectors as well, so you can just see some of the information that you can create. Again, we're looking at Palo Alto devices, network devices. Again, if you guys hadn't noticed on Microsoft 365 Defender, you now have the ability to actually connect to your on-prem networks with this as well. Just a little bit more. Most of this stuff is kind of what we touched on last week with Manuel. It's just close and update Microsoft 365 Defenders from within Sentinel as well. So again, it'll actually report back to Azure Sentinel. It'll report back from Azure Sentinel to Microsoft 365 Defender. So if the SOC analyst happens to be using the SIEM to manage incidents, we will close them and push that data back as well. From an end-to-end protection, again, all your activities at one glance. Kind of talked about this already, but a single portal pane of glass. Anywhere you need to go, you can start out with security.microsoft.com and get to all the different places that you need to go to. You don't have to remember the different portals. You can actually click on certain things and respond directly to those alerts from within the dashboard page. End-to-end protection. Again, this is something that's new, that's coming. You guys probably haven't seen this yet, but we're going to give you an investigation from a graph perspective, which I think is pretty cool because it'll actually give it a more visual aspect of what's going on within your environment, rather than just looking at stuff from a row by row perspective. So it'll actually make things much more visible. It'll actually make things a lot easier to figure out what's going on. You'll actually see here, like Jonathan Wilcott, there was identity theft. Went over to a different device. You can see automation was running from contosobonus.com/boom, and it's going to show you all that information there from a visual perspective. So, and it'll also give you the ability to click through each individual step of the attack. It'll give you an incident timeline down at the bottom of what's going on. So it makes it much easier to determine what's going on from that aspect, especially for someone, because we know, especially in education, people are wearing multiple hats. So somebody might not be a SOC analyst. They might be the system administrator. They might be the person that's actually doing desktop management. This will make it much more easier for them to actually follow along and figure out what's going on with that threat. Integrated investigation. So the ability to switch to investigation, to go through detail, as it says here, on each alert that actually built this particular investigation. A lot of this stuff is already in there. So even though we're kind of in preview, until April 1st. I know I don't think Microsoft has ever really released anything on April 1st because it's usually like April Fool's Day, but that's when this is going to go live. So I actually suggest everybody to go ahead and turn on the preview feature so you can see all this stuff. Even inside of Defender for Endpoint, I suggest turning on the preview stuff in there. Again, we're not going to, even though we say, hey, show preview features, we don't automatically turn the preview feature on. If there's something you want to look at, you can go ahead and turn it on. You can usually scope out what's from the preview side of to different device groups and stuff like that as well, but it gives you a glance at what's coming so you can actually take a look at it, learn it, etc. Go ahead and you can click on to specific activity, learn more about it. And of course, the Go Hunt button is there as well. This is the piece that I talked about with the more advanced. Oh, let me go back one slide. The more advanced hunting. So you can see here, I want to, instead of just hitting the Go Hunt button and have us create a query, you can actually customize that query using a contextual UI here. So, created by the same account, all related alerts, all open files. So instead of us just creating a query and running that query and basically spitting a bunch of information out to you, you'll actually be able to do that from a more granular perspective without knowing Kusto query language. Excuse me for a second. And then protection, so cross-domain detections and actions and alerts. So again, you'll be able to create alerts across everything or just scope it out to specific people, specific device groups, to specific features or to different products. So if you want to know just about email, you can do that. You can get a daily alert or have an alert every time something happens. Again, very customizable when it comes to that. Cross-domain response. This is already in there right now. So this is the Action Center. You can see this is based off of a human-operated ransomware attack, and you can see all the different actions that we took there. So what was decided by automation, what was decided by an actual human being. You can see, hey, this is pending approval, so kill the process. There was something that we had to do and who it was going to impact, what the device was going to impact from in here, and that's what was saying here. This is going to impact Jonathan's device, and then you can actually approve or reject that particular action from there. Again, Microsoft 365 Defender security. That's really what the portal overview is about. Let me go ahead and open up the page real quick and just show you a little bit more of what's in there right now. And I don't know if we have any questions or not.
Hey, Steve, this is David.
Hey, Dave, how you doing?
Hey, good. Hey, yeah, while you're bringing the portal up, I just want to add here, paste it in the chat window, a couple links to upcoming training workshops around security. So for folks that are interested in maybe taking the AZ500 Azure Security Technologies, there's 6 sessions coming up to starting March 8th for training. So if those are interested. And then you mentioned Sentinel, right? How the Kusto query language is leveraged not only by Sentinel, but Azure Defender and other security solutions. We have a Sentinel training also coming up on March the 10th. So I pasted both of those in the chat window.
Do you have the link? Wasn't there and also a Kusto course that you could take with Pluralsight?
Pluralsight, yeah. Let me find it. That's an excellent one. That's actually free.
Yes.
For those that can register. So let me find it. I'll paste it in the chat window.
Awesome. So this is the new security.microsoft.com homepage, our security center. You'll see that we've already broken things out. So these are the things that we can do from a cross-domain perspective. So incidents and alerts, hunting, advanced hunting, custom detection rules, the Action Center, threat analytics, secure score, and then we break it down by endpoints. Email and collaboration, you're going to start to see more and more things pop into this as well. So for instance, from the incidents perspective, as I had mentioned, this is where you really want to go. This is the power of Microsoft 365 XDR is actually the way we're going to group all these together, look at it from an all-up view. So when the SOC analyst says, instead of going over to Microsoft Defender for Endpoint, instead of seeing what was impacted by their mailboxes, excuse me, you can actually see everything from a single point of view. We're going to show you, based on the MITRE ATT&CK framework, we're going to show you a timeline of everything that's going on. We're going to show you all the different evidence that's there, all the impacted, but everything that you want to look for is inside of here as well. So all the alerts, the devices, the users, the mailboxes, the different investigations that are based off of this one particular incident, and all 247 pieces of evidence that we found, all obtainable by a single click to get there. You can also do things like manage the incident from here, assign it to you, resolve the incident, set it as a true or false alert in case it was a false alert, determination, security testing, other things that you want to look at from there. So you can create all that, put different tags in there as well. I don't have the ability to change that, so I'm not going to change it anyway. So it gives you all the ability there. Again, from a hunting experience, you're going to see advanced hunting. One of the things I like to point out is, even as we're making it very simple, and we're going to even put more contextual UI stuff in there from the hunting experience, you also have access to things that are in the community. So if there's different campaigns that are going on, you'll see like APT Baby Shark, if that was running in your organization. I don't think it's going to show up there now. So other things that might be running, any command and control. So hey, Tor browser, is Tor browser running in my organization? Yes, it is. And I can actually get a view of what user it is, what devices that is running on. So very easy. And these are queries that people have already created. Microsoft is also creates queries and shares them. So things like SolariGate or the SolarWinds attack, you'll actually be able to get that on things like GitHub, and pull those in there as well. So all that's in there, very easy. And of course, you can save your own queries and share those with GitHub if you wanted to, or with the community. The Action Center, again, shows you everything that we're doing from a cross-domain perspective, single location, to look at all your different actions. And my internet's running a little slow today. I think my wife is playing Neverwinter Nights, probably hogging up the bandwidth, but you can see things like soft emails, different actions that are going on. So all the different emails, and they get even more and more, and you can actually drill down to each one of them, open a different investigation page. We've actually expanded, and when I show you in a minute down here, and when we get to the email side, we've actually expanded the email result page. So what it went through, whether it went through our detonation chamber, what the results were, we've added a lot more context around that. The threat analytics, to me, this is really important because there's usually about 5 emerging threats happening each month. Not only is Microsoft going to make you aware of all these different threats that are going on, but we're going to show you how they're interacting or how they relate to your organization. So you can see this admin rat attack. You can see it, hey, 1 active alert, 1 device, 3 misconfigured devices. So right now it's impacting 1 device, but it could possibly impact 3 other devices because there's misconfigurations. And you can actually look at the mitigation options. So we can say, prevent, look at the related incidents, look at the mitigation reports. So you can see, hey, some of this stuff, just for instance, doesn't have antivirus turned on because this is a test environment. We needed certain things to run, but you can see why some of this stuff, how it's actually going to tell you, turn on cloud delivered protection, turn on real-time protection, etc. Secure Score. This is something that all organizations should take a look at. It is a over time view of how Microsoft sees your security deployment, your security configuration. We will pick up on things that, let's say you're using Azure MFA, we will pick up on that. If you're using Duo, which a lot of higher education is, you have to go in and just say, hey, using third-party MFA, and we'll raise and lower that score. We'll show you different improvement actions on how you can go ahead and improve your secure score, your history over time, and of course your metrics and trends. What's new is the Learning Hub as well, and you'll actually see we've got different learning paths, you know, how to investigate Microsoft 365 Defender, basic training, endpoint training, Office best practices, setup, etc. All that's in there, just different pieces to those training modules as well. Again, from the endpoint side of the house, search, device inventory, all this stuff is normal inside of Defender for endpoint, but now being moved into here. Same thing from the configuration, and this is the partners and API thing I was talking to you about. So you'll actually see, kind of like Azure, where we have our partner apps that you can connect and view. We'll actually give you direct links to them and give you the ability to connect that stuff in there as well, including things like Azure Sentinel's got a link in here as well. The ability to export your data. And again, this is all from an all-up cross-cloud perspective. What's kind of new in here is actually email and collaboration. And we've actually moved all the policies and configurations and everything like that over as well. So you'll see things like threat policies. And if you haven't seen this, we used to have something called Orca, which was the Office configuration and something analyzer. It used to be on GitHub. It's now, we've brought that into Microsoft 365 Defender. We've actually got two security policies, a strict and a standard, that adhere to our best practices. So you can use that, or you can create your own down here. But when you actually look at the configuration analyzer, it's actually going to go based, this is based off the standard recommendations. So it's going to show you, hey, there's 20 recommendations Microsoft is recommending to you as a best practice that you can go ahead and change right here. And if I had access and clicked on it, it would adopt, the adopt button would actually bring me to the pane where I make that change to actually change high confidence spam detection to move it to the quarantine. So it makes it very easy for you to do this, because one of the things that Microsoft realized, especially when it came to Office 360 Defender for Office 365, is when a customer came to us and said we had a low detection rate, it was usually due to misconfiguration, and nothing, the customer was not to blame. Microsoft did not do a very good job in actually explaining how or what best practices were and how to actually maintain that and configure that. So now we do that. The other thing that we do is we also have a configuration drift. And let me see if I can change this to a different date here. See if any changes were actually made. Yeah, so what it'll do, it'll show you all the different policy changes that you had for the last 6 months. It'll show you how it increased, decreased. So if all of a sudden junk is not going to the junk mail folder or not going to the quarantine, you can actually come here and see, hey, who modified it, when it was modified, and how this changed or increased or decreased your configuration perspective. For those that have Microsoft 365 A5 all up, one of the things that you do get is our attack simulator. We've partnered with Terranova, so there's over 76 different training modules in there. The ability for you to go ahead and have some fun and attack your own organization. No, really, but it's so you can train your users on phishing and not only just see who is vulnerable to phishing attacks, but actually follow that up and reinforce that with training. We put all the reports and health into one place. Oh, I skipped over something. No, we did that. All the reports and everything in one place. You can actually get all the different general reports and move them into one place. The health of your organization. So you can look at the service health, and we'll redirect that. Of course, the message center. This is something that a lot of people kind of glaze over and don't really pay attention to often, or maybe go back once or twice a month or something like that. This is something you should really pay attention to. And sorry about the dogs, my wife's screaming if you can actually hear that. But create alerts. You can see when things like there's a feature update, there's a major update. So different things that you might want to change to look at. So we're going to do some e-discovery UI changes. And we're letting everybody know that, especially when there's high security alerts. The other thing that we will try and do too, from the team side, you'll see I put something about the Exchange 0-day stuff and the out-of-box stuff. If something big comes out, I will try and put it inside the team. I'll try and have my team members put it in there as well so that you guys can also see it from that aspect of it as well. Excuse me. Permissions and roles that are in there. So again, some of the stuff is still coming. So again, this is from within endpoint roles and groups. There's different things that you can do from endpoint perspective as well. And the different settings in there. So you don't have to go to Microsoft Defender for endpoint to change those. Same thing when it comes to device groups, you can change all that stuff from one particular location. Different settings that are in there. And of course, this is just going to say, hey, the Security Center, endpoints, Microsoft Defender 365, email and collaboration. And again, you can do portal redirection as I talked about. It's on right now. So if I were to go to protection.office.com, it would redirect me automatically over here. You can see when you actually click on portal redirection, it'll bring you to a place and it's going to let you know that it's going to happen to everybody shortly anyway. So. I think I closed the wrong window. No. And again, a lot of the stuff. So let me just do something here. Do an Explorer, because it's one thing I want to show you because it's kind of new that's out there right now. So if I look at these emails and I click on this one, you'll actually see, try the new email entity page. This is brand new. Everybody should have access to it. It'll show you, it's a preview right now, but if you actually look at what's coming out, it'll actually open up the new page. It's still inside of the security.microsoft.com, but it's going to show you much more information about a particular email. So you'll actually see it's still taking some time. So, hey, this is the email, the information about that email. It's going to show you the analysis of that email. If I go into the analysis, it's actually going to show me the header. I can copy the header text. It's actually going to bring me right over to the message header analyzer. I can paste that in there and analyze that header directly from here. It's going to show you any attachments that are in there. It's going to show you any URLs that were in there. One thing to remember is when you start to look at some of the similar emails and look at the email itself from within here, none of these links, none of the links that are inside when you preview the message are going to be protected. So take caution when you click on something inside of the preview stuff, because it's basically when we show you the message, we're showing you as if it had not gone through Office Advanced Threat Protection. But you can just see, hey, the last delivery action was quarantine, when it would happen. You can see that was detonation reputation, who it was coming from, network message IDs, internet message IDs, campaign IDs, and any other similar messages that you might be seeing from within here. And I think this is something that a lot of people will find useful. It's something I know that a lot of people that are using Office Defender for Office have been asking for. So it's definitely a long time coming. Any questions or anything people want to? Somebody loved Orca. Yes, Leaf. I believe Orca was a really good tool, but I think what's inside of here now is much better than Orca, because Orca was you run it, it was PowerShell, you had to connect into PowerShell, run it, and then we give you an HTML report. And it was kind of a static thing. This is more looking at your policy and your configurations as they change over time.
Yeah, got a quick question. This was from earlier when you were covering something else, but first a quick shout out to your wife for playing Neverwinter Nights. That's awesome. We play, we're on Shadowlands right now, but nice. We played Guild Wars together. Anyhow, so advanced the agents for the endpoints. We have core infrastructure services license. Does that cover our local servers? Do you know? Of course, we're higher ed, so all we think about is costs.
Yeah, no. So like when and this kind of goes back to the licensing stuff. So M365 A3 A5 is just for your client machines. If you need to protect your servers, it is an additional cost.
And that's not included in the CIS license, or I'd have to ask somebody else?
You'd have to ask somebody else. I'm
okay,
going to say I'm 95% sure that it's not.
Okay.
because when you look at the core licenses, that's generally around Windows and on-prem resources like, System Center and that type of stuff. Whereas anything that's to do with the cloud services, which Defender for Endpoint is considered a cloud service, even though it's an agent, is usually done through a cloud agreement.
Okay, and that agent is fine and recommended for servers. I saw on your list you had server things in there, like DCs. Now, the agent on a DC, does it have execute rights in the DC or read only?
So Defender for Identity is just read only.
Okay.
Yeah. So Defender for Identity is we're investigating, putting the ability to actually respond to certain things from that side of the house, but generally speaking, because it is on domain controller right now, everything is read only, and what we're doing is identifying the lateral movement, identifying the pass to hash attacks, those types of things, and making you aware of it and giving you the remediation option and letting you go do it, just because it's usually a touchy subject on who can do what and where and when on such as a domain controller.
Right. Like right now, our policies, we can't run agents on our DCs. So if
you don't have to.
If you could support a model where it's read only or something like that, that would be amazing.
So they are read only. So
the
agents that are on there are read only, and there is some limitations to this. So there is a standalone sensor that you would install on a Windows server, and it basically does port mirroring off your DCs, but you do lose some capabilities because we're not doing log collection. So we can't read some of the logs, and some of the things like pass the hash attacks are actually detected through log entries.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no worries.
Hey, Steve.
Hi.
To answer the question on the core infrastructure server, Defender for Endpoint is not included in that suite.
Right.
That's just traditional Windows Defender for the OS.
Gotcha.
But Defender for Endpoint is licensed separately for servers, or part of the Azure security suite as well.
And if you guys have questions, it doesn't have to be on the topic that we were talking about. If you have questions about anything, just shoot them out. I might not have the answers. One of your peers might have the answer. So it's a good time, especially if you're seeing something or thinking about doing something that you think is education specific. Please, by all means, use this time to bring those up as well. If you also have any suggestions on future sessions, please let us know. The next one is going to be March 17th, and we're going to have Carlos Diaz, one of our Modern Workplace TSPs, talk about securing Microsoft Teams from a settings perspective. We're not going to dive too much into the DLP fashion, around Teams or anything, but it's going to be more of, hey, how do you configure Teams to be more secure inside of an education environment? A lot of his stuff might be catered towards a K through 12 environment, but it'll probably be useful in most environments. And of course, you can ask him questions on, what he thinks could be done better or differently inside of a higher education perspective. Pamela, I seen you came off mute. Did you have a question?
I did. I received a Defender ATP alert notification this afternoon, and for some reason I got the same message like 30 times. I don't know why that would have happened. Do you have any thoughts?
So when you set up alerts, you can say, hey, I want the alert to happen every single time we're seeing something, or basically squash the alert after, let's say, 5 times, so you're not getting overwhelmed with those types of alerts. It's a configuration setting inside the alert. Obviously, if you're getting the same alert over and over and over again, it's probably an incident or something that's happening over and over inside of your environment, and you probably need to go take a look at it. But yeah, you can go inside of the alerts page and actually change those settings.
Okay, and can you show me again where that is? Is it on this screen? This was for endpoint.
Yeah, so under endpoint, it's actually, where are we at here? So it's probably going to be under settings.
Okay.
Probably end of points, and then email notifications. And of course, you can come in here and you can say, hey, when do I want to get alerts? And then you can come in here and say group alerts, and a lot of stuff I can't change because
Okay.
I don't have read-only access to it. But there's also, when it comes to alerts, as long as it's coming from Defender for Endpoint, there's you can say, hey, after 5 times, stop sending the alert.
Thank you.
Yep. So additional Defender ATP EDR features are coming to Linux Server. Yes, they are. They probably announced some of that stuff yesterday or today at Ignite. I also suggest everybody go to Microsoft Ignite. Everything was recorded. Go take a look at it. That might be even a follow-up session that we have in not the next time we come back around, or maybe not the 17th, but the next office hours we have after the 17th, where we can actually do an Ignite, I guess, blow by blow if you want. So what sessions you can look at and everything like that. But yes, there are additional EDR capabilities that are coming to Linux. The couple things you do have to understand when it comes to things like EDR, the object of what Microsoft is doing from a cross-platform is we want to have the same features in every place. We want feature parity, but that's all depending on the operating system. So things like attack surface reduction, that's part of Windows OS. It's not actually, yes, Defender is actually utilizing it, but if those capabilities are not in the operating system, you're not going to get some of that stuff there. But we do plan on putting more stuff from an EDR perspective in both Mac and Linux. Cool. Sounds like we got at least one person to come to the session when we do a recap of Ignite. And I will work with the people that are the team that I am on to see who can run that and do that. Question around alert acknowledgement. Currently, I may have to acknowledge the same alert and IDP risk uses Cloud App Security Office. Is there any easy way to do this? You know what? Let me take that question offline, and I will put that into the chat or into our team when I get the answer for you, unless, of course, somebody knows how to do that off the top of their head. Because generally speaking, when you come into incidents, you acknowledge that incident's there. Obviously, you can do different things inside of Cloud App Security and have different alerts and incidents that are not going to show up in the incidents in the Microsoft 365 Defender portal. But I will see if there's some way of accomplishing that. All right, I guess if nobody else has any questions, or there we go. I'd like to know the same, since we're going to be using Sentinel. Was thinking of playbook handling these. Might even be able to do it with something like a Power Automate or something like that, which is the new version or the new name for Flow. So there might be something that we can do around that. So let me investigate that, and I will get back to you guys on that. And,
are you going to require everybody be on Microsoft Mesh to view the portal? I need a justification for the $3,500 HoloLens.
No, that makes perfect sense, because the justification would be, hey, in order to use Mesh, you either have to use HoloLens or have a jack surgically installed into your head and plugged in. I think that, I think if anybody has any contacts with Satya, please reach out to him and say, hey, Steve Scholl said that in order for him to better help his customers, that he needs a HoloLens too. So sure, Arash, I will make sure that Carlos gets your feedback, and make sure that he comes prepared with that as well. And at this point, I'm going to stop the recording just in case